I'm going to talk about some of the mini games that are unique to the Spanish Civil War. We're going to focus on Nationalist Spain, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about Carlist Spain because I'll use that in a different video as well. Starting out with the initial setup, I have my construction set to pump out military factories because I'm going to need as many of those as possible. I am building in regions up here in the north because I'll start out controlling those as Nationalist Spain, and when I go Carlist I should still have those areas as well. For the national focus, we're going to go with a Great Spain, and that'll put us on the side of the tree where you have the fascist and Carlist. For my army commander, I want to choose somebody that has nationalist sympathies. When you start going down the Carlist route, you also have icons for Carlist sympathizers. I believe Jose ends up being Carlist, so I'm going to pick him. And then for my field marshal, I really only have one choice since he has the nationalist sympathies. I put them on a defensive line up here so that all those troops are going to be close to the front when the war starts, and any that still remain loyal to me will be right there where I need them. And then I'm going to run it ahead until some of the mini games start happening. So the first national focus is completed. That leaves me with only one choice. That'll give me a lot of political power to play the mini game. When this notification pops up, it means that the mini game has officially started. And click OK so I can see everything. Now here, each region, you can see has a little icon with 3 X's, and the number below it is the political power cost to expand influence in that region. So the 6 up here, Galicia, Leon, I can't read all that. Let's get that. Okay. Valladolid, Burgos, Navarra, and West Aragon are all going to be given to me for free via secure the northern garrisons. So I'm not going to influence any of those on my own. These 2 up here, Austrias. I'm sure I'm butchering a lot of these names. And Pass, Bosco. Anyways, names aside, these 2 up here are where I want to definitely influence for the time being. And you also want to pick some of these on the left-hand side. For my purposes, it doesn't really matter. The key here is if you look at the tooltip, effects when removed, remove 36 days from mission military plot. So that's when military plot reaches 0, the Civil War will start, and I need to start the Civil War before the opposition enlarges their weapon caches. So in order to put myself in a spot where I need to be, I need to do 3 of these burners. I'm going to go ahead and start with 1 and just burn through some time. Alright, 14 days has elapsed, and that means my influence has completed in the first region. And I'm going to go ahead and pick another one. I didn't choose the same region again because the political power cost goes up by 10 for each check mark. And well, national focus is complete, so we'll go down to the next one. So back to the mini game. Right here, you can see my influence is being challenged by the computer. I didn't double down on this one because once they complete that and it drops down, it'll be back to 10 political points instead of 20 to influence again. And while I'm at it, okay, so there, we see this one went from 10 to 20. I'm going to go down here and grab a couple of these. If I start the Civil War with them, That's great, but really I'm just trying to get the computer to challenge the influence down there while I work on the north later. My first time burner has completed, so I'll go ahead and pick another one. And I'm just going to do the same one over and over. Another national focus has completed. At this point, you could stop with these focuses and just wait for Carlists if you're going that way. But I've found that if you play down through here and then go Carlist, you're going to have a much more successful time going to the Carlist side. The Army of North Africa, you can see we're getting 5 well-trained units. Those guys will start down here when the Civil War starts. Alright, at this point, I've been playing their little mini game, and I'm going for my third time burner. Another focus has completed. This next one, secure the northern garrisons. Once that completes, I will have control of those 6 I mentioned before. And even if the computer challenges me on influence in those regions, they will not get them. I will still have full control, so it's actually ideal if the computer challenges me there. At this point, I've completed 3 of my time burners, and now I'm just waiting on the opposition's event so I can time out my last steps. And I'm continuing to play the little mini game of challenging or influencing garrisons in the north. Now that the national focus, secure the northern garrisons, has completed, you now see in these 6 that I mentioned how I have 3 check marks in each of them. If the computer challenges in those regions, they won't change my full control of them. So, go ahead and choose another national focus. Since we want to go Nationalist or Carlist, choosing the one on the right. And burn off some more time and play the minigame. Okay, so now under Opposition Civil War Preparations, we have the event Enlarge the Weapon Caches. Up here under the Inevitable Civil War, Military Plot, when that hits 0, that's when the Civil War starts. So right now, enlarging the weapon caches will not complete before the Civil War starts. However, the problem comes with these other preparations the opposition's doing. Look at Reassign Disloyal Leader. That's going to add 15 days to the military plot. With that in mind, with enlarging the weapon caches, when that gets down to 40 days, I want to choose a 4th time killer just to ensure that they are not able to enlarge the weapon caches. Because if they do, if you look at the tooltip, if their weapon caches are enlarged, they take 80% of the weapons instead of 50%. And that puts them, well, it puts us in a really bad situation. So I'm going to go ahead and burn some more time. Another national focus completed. However, you cannot do any other national focuses until the Civil War starts. So at this point, I'll just bank my time and make sure my preparations are as good as possible. So now that we're down to about 40 days left until they can enlarge the weapon caches, you can now see that the military plot has had more time added to it, and the weapon caches will be enlarged before the Civil War starts, unless we choose a time burner. So choosing this time burner is going to ensure that they don't have enough time to complete those weapon caches. And then continue to play the mini game. Hopefully I'll have full control of the north, and maybe one garrison out down here. We'll see. Alright, the Civil War is one day from starting, and I almost had full control up here, but they challenged it last second. So I'll have to spend a couple units there, but not a big deal. And let's let the Civil War kick off. Perfect. At this point, you're choosing which side you want to be on. Regardless of which side I choose at this point, I'm still going to start out playing as a Nationalist. Since eventually I want to go Carlist, I choose this one. And we can see that completes one of the focuses automatically. And then, starting off with the Civil War, you can see those units that I had training here. This is one unit I got from having one garrison support here. The reason I like having this guy down here is it's very likely the computer will put a unit on each tile surrounding mine, so that's going to eat up 5 or 6 of his units while I use them elsewhere. These guys are good elite units, and the enemy won't invade Africa, so I can use them elsewhere. At this point, I need to do a little prep with my armies. You can see my troops that I trained still have their general. Get rid of that. And I'm going to add a front line for him. I need to get troops there as quick as possible. So these troops are already here. I'm going to add them to that army. And I want to lock down the enemy's troops and keep them from moving. So in this case, I'm using that troop to lock him down. I'm going to try to take some space while I can. I'm moving these units in. However, there might be fog of war and they get stuck. I'm going to add those units there. Over on this side, I'm going to take these units and assign them to a new army. And then this guy will add to that one. And I'm going to see if I can get him to the shore to kind of break apart the Spanish troops into 2 separate regions. These guys, I need to make a 3rd army to get rid of this space. Eventually I'll move them out. I want them to aggressively capture the space. And now you can see that the loyalties have changed here, and we can see who is indeed a Carlist. So this guy that I picked at the beginning is a Carlist. Pick him. Let's see if we can switch him out with a Carlist. Yep. And then this guy, there's my other Carlist. Okay. Now I can assign some attributes, since we know who we're working with. Don't forget to add some buffs. And select the national focus real quick. Okay. Sure. We'll take that. We still have a lot of troops that are unassigned. Let's see how many. So I'll put those there, and you can see we have more than we can work with. Those there. And 2 more. Okay, let's get these guys attacking aggressively. I have an air force that I trained up, and we're gonna give those guys orders. Those are pointless. So we'll give these guys orders. And at this point, so this guy, I'm just trying to collapse his territory here. There shouldn't be very many enemies. And I'm trying to get these other units to the front as quickly as possible. I'm going to send these units to try to grab as much ground as possible. And we'll just let this play out. So now that the fog of war is being removed, you can see where enemy units are at. So him, I'm actually going to take him down. I'm going to try to skirt along here. And at this point, we are trying to grab as much ground as quickly as possible. Eventually we'll get a notification saying that the lines have solidified. And okay, so at this point when the lines have solidified, you can see the tooltip here where it's adding unplanned offensive, which grants a bunch of negative bonuses. If we go to the events and decisions, you can see in these different regions that if you click on the icon, it's going to be active for 14 days, and then it's going to remove that negative bonus that we have. So you kind of want to choose which area you want to focus on, select that, wait 14 days, and then go on the offensive there. And at this point, what we're trying to do is micromanage to take as many points on the map as possible and try to get a quick victory. Down here, everything's pretty solid except for this corner on the left, so I'm going to try to sneak some troops in there and start working this area. Up here, things are pretty solid again. There are a couple spaces that I can move some troops into. And at this point, it's just micromanaging, trying to fill gaps, letting the enemy computer move their troops around, and then when they open up a spot, attack on both sides to keep troops from moving back into the hole and taking it. Really the fun part of HOI. Moving on to the Carlist specific portion, I want to point out a couple things. First off, under events and decisions, down here under political actions, we have impending fascist crackdown. So technically we're already Carlist, and it's the fascists that are going to start a civil war against us once this reaches 0. In the meantime, there are some national focuses that we can use. It's really these two: prepare the Carlist insurrection and contact the Union Militar Española. Those two are important. This top one will start the Carlist minigame. It will give you control of regions that you already control if you spend the political power to do so. However, it doesn't give you any divisions, so in a way it's kind of pointless. However, the second one here is going to give you control of a region, and I think it's 5 divisions. So that one's really important to get. So I'll fast forward a little bit and we'll talk about those when I get there. Okay, now that this national focus has completed, looking under events and decisions, we now have this new icon with the cost of 50 political power below it. So if you choose this, it's going to be active for 90 days, and then when the Civil War starts, you'll have this region without having to move your troops through all the tiles and take it over. However, it won't give you any additional divisions. So if you don't have the political power, it doesn't really matter. And now I'm going to go select the national focus that does matter. Okay, so now the important focus has completed. And from there, if you go down this middle path and grab these two, you can go no compromise on Carlist ideals, and that's going to force the fascists to kick off a civil war against you. Just a reminder, in the meantime, with your army set up, make sure you have chosen commanders that have Carlist loyalties. That way you're building up your commanders and you won't lose them. So, in the meantime, get on that center path to kick off the Civil War sooner if we want. This event is what was triggered by the last national focus. So, contact the Union Militar Española triggered this pop-up, and here you get to choose which region you want to secure for Carlist Spain. Since I built factories up here in Galicia, I'm going to choose that one because I know that I want that and I want to secure those factories. So yeah, I'll pick that one, and then when the Civil War the second Civil War starts, I'll have that. Since I have the political power and it'll still be a while before I can finish off Spain, I'm going to go ahead and establish a Carlist cell here just so I have more breathing room when the Civil War against the fascists starts. I have some more political power and a lot of time, so I'm going to go ahead and establish another cell and continue to whittle away at the Spanish Civil War. Okay, at this point I've completed a few national focuses and it's only 50 days until the fascist Civil War starts, so I'm going to go ahead and select no compromise on Carlist ideas so that I get those bonuses once it starts. Alright, now that that focus completed, it kicked off the additional split between the Carlists and the fascists. As you can see, I have most of my troops still, so that's wonderful. Just a bunch of messages about that. So, up here, these are the 5 divisions I got from this national focus, contact the Union. And then this region, these 2 regions, Leon and Valladolid. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. But anyways, those 2 regions I got because I did the little mini game to take control of them. This is the region, Burgos, where they traditionally start. So at this point, you're just reorganizing your units and continuing going about as you would with the Spanish Civil War of trying to capture victory points and get it over with as soon as possible. Enjoy.